Hi, thanks for joining the devotion today. I wanted to share with you some of my experience of the pandemic, and I hope that you can relate to some of this too. So there's been so much talk of people turning to God and turning to faith during the pandemic, which is fantastic. And there's some amazing examples of this, both globally, but also within our own community and our own church. However, I just want us to think about people who may be thinking, well, where is God in all of this? What about people who are feeling that God is more absent than he was before, or they feel abandoned in all of this? What about those who felt there's a barrier in their worship at the moment because they're unable to worship in the same way or sing without masks? Perhaps you found yourself distracted with online church because there may be housework or other things going on at home, screaming children, and it's just made it much harder to concentrate. Perhaps you've also felt, I'll just watch it another time, and then it's ended up getting to the next week and it's just slipped your mind. So has your relationship with God suffered because of the pandemic? I want to talk today about perhaps some ways we can help to revive this relationship. So I want to look at it from the point of view of a child. So in Matthew 18 verse 3, it says, "Truly, I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." So I'm going to look at 3 practical points of what we were taught as a child and how this might be able to help us bring us closer to God. So the first point is memory verses. So you don't have to spend hours on this, but actually just having a couple of verses that you can ponder over. You can break down, you can say in your head, or you can speak it out loud. Perhaps you might find it easier to write it down, but some way of making that verse stick in your head so that when you're going through the day, it might just pop up at different times. You'll be amazed how often this will happen. In Deuteronomy 11, verse 18, it says, "Fix these words of mine in your ears and minds. Tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads." So the second practical point I want to talk about is remembering to say our pleases and thank yous. So we need to show God that we're grateful. Of course, we need to pray to him in times of need, but it's also about remembering to thank him for things in the past. But also, we know that he's going to be working in our life, so remembering to thank him for things he's doing currently that we might not be able to see. This can help improve your faith and your trust in God. It also helps just have a positive attitude about life, and it helps us to take notice of things that God has done in our life and what he's given us. So in Philippians 4, verse 6, it says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God." The third point I want to make is that we need to love our church family. We often talk to children about loving others, no matter what, and about sharing things with each other and helping each other out when we need to. It's also a biblical principle. So in John 13, verse 34, it says, "Love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another." It's not just about what we can get out of church, but it's also about what we can give and what we can give through love. If we're going to try to be like Jesus, we need to focus on what we can do for others. I've also found that practically helping others in this way can also help you to feel a sense of purpose within the community and within the church. So I hope those 3 short points will help you to think about some practical ways that you might be able to help rebuild that relationship with God and become closer to him. You might feel distant from your faith, but we've got to remember that God isn't distant from us. Nothing can separate us from God's love, it says in Romans 8, verse 38. So I pray today that whatever situation you found yourself in the last 12 months, I pray that you can draw closer to God and really lean in on him. Amen.